I just bought a set of forks from AliExpress for £142, and I'm here at TF Tuned, a suspension service centre, who have just taken them apart, and you won't believe what we found inside.
Genuinely haven't set this up to be like, hey, this is how bad of it.
No, what?
Is it all right that that was loose straight out? Like,
yeah, fine.
Do you think they've forgotten to put it in, or?
Holy It's like the more you look at it, the worse it gets, this.
What do you think about these?
Yeah.
Yeah?
What looks like
Initial
some other
impressions?
forks. Yeah, okay, all right.
They look like some other forks, yeah,
I wasn't actually
they
expecting
do.
it to be inverted, to be honest
No.
with you. It shows how much I
Technology has moved on
well,
in
yeah.
AliExpress, huh? We're modern now.
I've seen a couple of 2-3 forks that are this way up, but yeah, interested actually.
Okay.
Yeah, interested to see what £140 from AliExpress buys
Me
you in
too.
the imported fork world. So okay.
Can we take them over to your workstation?
Let's do it.
And have a
Sounds
look?
good. They go up and down.
Yeah, it'll be in landfill next year.
Is it all right that that was loose straight out? Like,
Yes, fine.
So what's
get them apart.
loose straight away? What have you noticed?
I just spun it in my hand like that, and that one there was loose. Like,
Yeah.
it was just not done up.
Yeah. And
probably
is that
all right.
why there's all of
Maybe,
this
might be
coming
why that's
out of
weeing
it?
oil out of it, potentially. I don't know. Genuinely, if you brought this to, we don't. Just
wouldn't
go,
touch
no.
it.
There
No.
you go.
Just no. Just no straight away.
There's like, the problem is with stuff like this is you've got no idea what's inside it. Is it like, I mean, it's not branded. There isn't like a manufacturer's site or no kind of suggested.
There's no manual with it. No, that is it. That's what you
no
get.
setup guide, nothing. You just open the box and this is what you get.
That's what you get.
It's not something that we would touch normally because it's not something that we could provide proper support for and get bits for, and if I'm pretty honest, I have no idea how it's been made. So but we'll find that out in a minute.
Yeah,
See what's inside the thing, so yeah. That is not 110 mil when that's torqued, is it?
No.
Your axle width is 107, 6 maybe mil.
Okay.
So
Nice.
that's not exactly going to work. That's probably why it came loose, because that wouldn't have been tightening up, and
Right.
or if you were maybe not tightening the pinch there. I mean,
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
not a kind of
It would have just been loose, even though it felt like it was tight.
potentially. These pinch bolts, when you've got nothing to stop you from just winding this in as tight as you want
Yeah.
and cracking it. We see that
Yeah, I thought that.
reasonably like, oh, is that gonna snap that off? Is it gonna crack it? Is it kind of, you know? You've been in here?
What?
You've been in here, yeah?
Here? This
No,
workshop?
in the
Oh,
fork.
no. No, I've not done anything.
You've genuinely not been in to take them apart?
No.
Seriously?
No, I've not. I've not.
You genuinely haven't set this up to be like, hey, this is how bad of it.
No. What? I've not taken them apart. I've just took them out of the box and rode them.
You know, I was saying about bits of swarf knocking around and things, that's pretty epic.
Lord. I mean,
You genuinely
no,
take them
I'm
apart.
being genuinely serious.
Yeah, but I mean, that's like pretty kind of
impressive, isn't it?
like nailed together. Look at all that as well.
Oh, well, how have they even done that?
Bird, massively. There's again another little bit of aluminium coming off. Okay.
What else have you-
It's definitely not as big of a problem as this coming out of the thing, but and to be fair, you know, some other manufacturers need, but that's
Oh, wow.
that's come apart once, and there's bits of paint falling off the thing. So this bit of swarf that's been just hanging on there.
Yeah.
It's making its way down into the leg, down into the bushes, to
Yeah.
the wiper seal, and you said, oh, this was quite wet.
Yes.
I mean, it might have been wet because that was a bit loose, but it also might have been wet because there's just bits of metal floating around
Yeah.
in the thing, so...
Greg's in a state of shock right now because he thinks I've set him up
thought- no, I
and
did.
intentionally made these bad, and I have not. What have you found, Greg?
So with this one, there's two things I've noticed. You can see the amount of fluid that's come out of it, or lack of fluid that's come out of it. He said it was weeping, so maybe it's all managed to make its way out already previously. Not sure, we'll find out when we take this one apart in a second. But the second thing, and this is kind of the tolerance between it, is the bushing play, which I've basically got the leg here that's floating up and down the side here, and you can see.
Yeah, you can physically see it wiggling.
And you can probably hear it actually, it's like.
I mean, the intolerances are usually fractions of a millimetre, right? I mean, but that looks like almost like a mil or two of play there.
Yeah. That must have been pretty, and it's on the brake side, so you're going to feel that every time you brake.
Well, I felt something
just
for sure. I felt like my front wheel was on a
loose.
delay.
Holy sh**. What? Sorry, I'm serious, but no, it's like the more you look at it, the worse it gets, this.
Yeah, I know.
This is awful. Really? Yeah, like.
I'm surprised that he's surprised.
Look at how the tube's seated in that crown at the top there. Yeah.
Or not.
Yeah, and look. Yeah, no, that I didn't do that. That was like that. That's the amount of play in there. There's the seal that's stopping the oil from coming out the top, or lack of. And can you see the gap in there as well, where the thing's bonded? There's like a tube. The tube's pressed into there. There's a whacking great big gap where it's not actually butted up. There's just like a 3 mil gap before it reaches the top.
Okay.
And there's no, like I say, you would expect to have some kind of seal or something to stop oil from leaking out.
Do you think they've forgotten to put it in, or?
So maybe. Well, it's just pulling the thread clean out with it when I'm doing it. You weren't planning on using these again, right?
No, not now. Not now I've seen what's inside them.
Maybe this is why they look so roushed on the shaft and everything, because they just kind of...
Yeah.
That's just... See the threads that are now no longer on that?
Oh.
I've done that as carefully as possible and just thought that was like a kind of, but that is...
Is that because it went on bad, or because it's just cheap metal? It's not been...
this isn't a setup. Honestly...
No, this isn't a setup.
That's like someone...
AliExpress.
That's like someone's just put that on in the factory, completely cross-threaded it.
Yeah.
Like Mike said, nature's Loctite, slipped a couple of 5 times on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And you can see that you've still got some thread in that, but absolutely nothing on that.
Yeah.
But it's all right though, because this bit is only holding front wheel to that side of the leg. So it's not really that important, I suppose.
No.
It's kind of,
the braking forces just keep it on there. No. There you go.
So there's your leg.
Lovely. What's that? Black paint?
And that's just all the alloy that's just been floating around in the lower. So all of that, you can see that's
metal shavings.
That's just metal shavings and bits of, and you can still see shards of metal, small ones in there as well.
How much can we really trust a unnamed, unbranded factory with that sort of quality of work?
If it fails, where are you going to it?
Exactly.
I suppose that's the kind of bottom line question here, is that if something catastrophically fails, what leg have you got to stand on? I think having seen a lot of these over the years, you struggle to have it maybe catastrophically fail, but obviously you just don't know, because things are made to tolerances and machined to be strong enough for certain loads and stuff, and you would trust a big manufacturer like Fox, RockShox, Owens, whoever it is, to have done the R&D and make sure that these things are strong enough. It's like, who did this? Where do you go if it kind of has a problem? So, I suppose that's something to bear in mind, maybe. Yeah, there's no seal on the bottom either.
There's no seal?
Well, there is. There's that one. There's one.
Okay, that wiggles. Is that unusual?
I mean, I suppose by the time you've got the wiper seal assembly screwed up to this nicely, which it wasn't because it was loose. But if it was screwed up and torqued up nicely, then that's not going to go anywhere because it's threaded in. But like we said, it wasn't. There is a seal and you can see it.
Yeah. It's not straight though, is it?
No. So the sealing component at the bottom down here is essentially the wiper seal, which we've got the damage to the garter spring. But you would expect to see because they've decided to make this part separate from this part for whatever reason, you'd expect to see some kind of way of stopping fluid from making its way out of the wiper seal threaded part here from this kind of block to the leg, and there's nothing. There's just nothing in there.
Especially as they're inverted. But there's no oil
But there wasn't any oil.
so it doesn't matter.
No. It's kind of,
We just grease them.
yeah, but then that's probably why they're just greased, maybe. I don't know. So going back to kind of that area with the bits of swarf knocking around, and you can see I've just moved my hand. There's another little bit there floating up and down there.
Yep.
This shaft would be an air sealing surface. You'd imagine, unless it's got like a negative spring potentially. But either way, it's kind of we'll have to get inside it and see how the air system works. But that's not ideal. That's not a great finish, to be honest. And if it's not sealed there, then those bits of metal are just going to make their way into the fork, which then is going to potentially damage the air sleeve as well, which is not a great situation to be in. So yeah, that wasn't tight. It's quite misshapen, so I was like, oh, maybe they've like really murdered it up, but actually you could see that just kind of fell apart. And actually I've heated it up thinking there might be some locking compound on there, and it's just spinning loose because there was nothing. So there's your negative, or the top out spring. So it hasn't got a transfer port in it, it's literally just a spring. And then it's got 2 seals actually, and then a lubricating kind of foam in the middle.
You're mildly impressed.
Well, I'm just trying to think from how many years ago what technology this was. So if this is supposed, well, this would be a 2024 model year fork.
Yes.
Fox used this back in the 90s.
Right, yeah.
That's quite RockShox-esque from like a rev of maybe 2005, 6 maybe. This shaft isn't critical, as in it doesn't seal any air or anything, but obviously there is nothing there to stop all those bits of swarf making their way through here into the spring assembly and actually, as you can see, onto the air piston. There's a bit of oil in there, look.
Hey, we finally got some oil.
And they got a seal on it as well.
No.
Yeah,
Maybe
look at
this
that.
was made in a different factory. So we finally found a seal somewhere deep in these forks and some oil. So either the person who assembled these got bored along the way and gave up after a while, or the first person in the production line was doing their job and the rest of them weren't. I don't know, but interesting stuff.
It's like every time you go to take something apart, there's just a bit of crumble.
Yeah.
There you go, look, jammed in the seal.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's already started to mark the leg slightly as well. It's only marginal, but like you can see there's lines on it.
Yeah.
Like a little band there.
Yeah.
I mean, it has a finish, but
Pebble Dash probably wasn't the finish they were going for, right?
you'd expect, it's like a...
Oh, it's not terrible, but it is scratched.
You see what I mean? It's like there's scratches and lines and stuff on it all over the place.
It's like...
That needs to be like piston, bore, finish, polish, no damage.
You can see that something's been dragged up and down this,
So
which
that's
probably wasn't intentional.
A bit of swarf, that bit of swarf in the seal maybe or something, it's kind of, it's less than ideal. And there's a load of dents weirdly up it as well, which is useful.
Oh, really?
Again, that is not torqued. Like, you saw that was a kind of like, that's about that tight.
Okay.
Which isn't ideal. But then there is like this foot nut down here that looks like it might come undone, but okay. Also felt like it was going to snap clean off.
It did,
so it's kind of like,
did look like that.
Going to undo from there, or is it? So it's like a land for a crush washer, but no crush washer.
Yep, exactly.
For some reason.
Yeah, I ain't not better get tan for that.
Find an Allen key that fits in there. I might be able to get it a little further apart than this, but it's like, it's a kind of, I said, it's kind of like the boot strut in your car, genuinely.
Yeah.
It's like press fit, rolled, crimped.
Yeah.
Like, it's not designed to come apart that.
Right, yeah.
You can hear it's got air in it. It's not bled amazingly well. It's got a gap.
And that's your damper. That's something that if you bought branded forks from, you could bring here and get serviced and keep going, or replace maybe.
Yeah, like, I mean, some brands make it easier than others. Some will make full seal kits for them, and then you can strip the entire thing apart, change all of the dynamic seals. And some brands make it a little more difficult, where you might be in a position that you have to buy a new cartridge for it or something. But yeah, I mean,
but we ain't going to be finding that on AliExpress, are we? To replace it if it goes wrong.
Would you want to though? If you spent 140 quid on something,
yeah.
Would you want to have to go into?
No.
You know, I mean, it's obviously held. It's held oil. I mean, it's that way up, isn't it? It's held, but it's got like a load of free play where there's just a gap in it. You can see that bit again wobbling from there. So the sealing surface is just not amazingly. That's typically like a throwaway item.
Oh,
It's
cute
pretty
rattle.
it's pretty loose. So that's going to translate to a horrible knock on the bike.
Yeah.
And again, just grease, no oil, dry.
Yeah.
And you can see that gap isn't designed even from them. See, it's different in this one to that one. This has just not been pressed in as far as this. So you can see the gap between there and there and then there and there where the tube slid into it. This one's almost on its seat, and this one's about 3 mil shy.
Literally nothing on this fork has been torqued up, and probably can't be because of the way that it goes together. There was metal shavings inside the air spring, so it was on the seals, which eventually could potentially make you lose air. There was no seals in the tops here where they should be. Well, we found one seal in the entire set of forks. We managed to take apart the damper a little bit, but this basically is a consumable part that would just get thrown away and replaced. You cannot service this damper. Garter spring was a complete mess. Looks like it's unraveling itself. There's scratches already on the lowers from all of the metal shavings that were inside not the lowers, but the upside down lowers. And there's also marks, and the bushings were they didn't fit. All I can say that's good is that the steerer was quite well bonded in and wasn't loose, was it, Greg? But other than that, everything else is horrible. And generally wouldn't be very serviceable. It wouldn't be very durable. Bear in mind, it's an utter mess, and I've only ridden it for 30 minutes. So what is your final thoughts on these AliExpress forks?
Yeah. Concerning, I think. I don't know. There's all sorts of that.
Safety?
Yeah, safety.
Quality?
Yeah, like the performance of the thing obviously wasn't great. That's probably least of the kind of thing. Safety. As an end consumer, what are you buying into with regard to support, spare parts availability, all those kind of aspects. But actually, maybe from a kind of more important standpoint, the ethics behind how this was assembled, where it was assembled, who put it together.
Why was it so
badly damaged?
Yeah.
You know, you just don't know, and there's no kind of way of regulating that, I suppose. So yeah,
No.
The more you think about it, the more concerning it is from a number of aspects. I think it's not something that necessarily I would want to get into. I think if you're on a budget and you want a cheap suspension fork for a budget build you're doing, something like that, there's plenty of options from manufacturers out there that you can kind of trace that kind of thing, have some product support, or actually, to be honest, the second-hand market, if you're just savvy enough and you can kind of look and see that stanchions aren't worn, you know, or you've got some kind of comeback on eBay or whatever it is, and you can kind of go, actually, do you know what, this isn't quite what I was expecting, the CSU is creaking, whatever it is, you kind of, that feels like a safer, nicer way of doing things as opposed to going down this route, I think.
Wow, I knew they'd be bad, but I didn't realise they would be that bad. And in fact, Greg was surprised too. So much so that he thought we were playing a trick on him. We weren't, they are just that bad. Now he's absolutely right that performance is a concern, but it's not just about performance. It's not just a snobbery thing here. There are concerns around safety, durability, the quality of these products shows that perhaps the workshop or the factory or wherever these were made, and we don't know where they're made, is quite concerning. And yeah, I think from a moral standpoint, I wouldn't want to put money into this not knowing where they've come from or what conditions those workers are in, let alone what condition the forks are in when you buy them. I think Greg's right, you should be buying branded and you should be buying perhaps second-hand if you can't afford to buy new. And like I said, it's not a snobbery thing. It's just what we should be doing. These are terrible. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Have you bought unbranded stuff in the past? What was your experience? And what do you think now that you've actually seen these opened up? Let me know down in the comments below.